we got people coming in. Looks like it's starting to level off here. Let me see. All right, so let's get started. My name is Leonard Simon. Thank you all for joining. If you haven't yet, go ahead and in the chat, let me know where you're from, city, state, whatever. It'd be great to see where people are from. All right, Paula, thanks for joining. All right, let's get started. So my name is Leonard Simon. I want to thank you all for joining today. Really excited about today's session. And quickly, obviously, just want to introduce myself, and I'll kind of get into what we're going to go over today. So I'm a senior security engineer consultant. I've been in the field for 5+ years now. Also teach at several universities, cybersecurity mainly. And I'm also currently a doctoral student learning or focusing on information assurance and cybersecurity. So it is, I live and breathe security for sure. So I really enjoy the topic, and I'd love to share and give back to the community as well. I also am a mentor at Springboard, where I provide mentoring to mentees that sign up for various courses here, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Here's a few pictures of me in the fields. Top one is just me pointing to my aggressively drinks tea sticker on the back of my laptop, just to kind of show you a little bit about my personality. And bottom left there is me kind of working in one of the data centers that I work at, working on a checkpoint firewall cluster. So there's 2 of them there for redundancy purposes. So it's definitely good to have that in case one of them goes down or there's an issue with one of them, it falls over to the other one. And then the last one here is an old lab I had set up. I actually still have it. It's kind of behind me. You may be able to see it over there. Yeah, it's kind of in a few pieces right now, but I have 2 more checkpoint firewalls, routers, switches, stuff like that on there. More for labbing things up at my home office for testing purposes and things like that. So as you can see, I'm pretty technical, and I'm also at the academic level, I also teach and help students kind of learn more about the whole field of cybersecurity. So it definitely is a big part of what I do, and I enjoy doing it very much. So education, yeah. So right now, like I said, I'm taking my doctorate in information assurance and cybersecurity. I've got my master's, my MS degree with a concentration in cybersecurity from Nova Southeastern University, and also a bachelor's in information technology at FIU, local in Florida here. Certifications that I have, I've done a few webinars on specifically certifications, and we can get into that more later, or check out the webinars later on. But I have a couple of security certifications, a couple of general IT certifications, some specific networking certifications, I still have a few more to look at, and I definitely want to pursue more of them later on. And we'll talk a little bit about that too. But if you can, check out a webinar I did earlier on about certifications, because I don't want to spend too much time on that today. So as far as classes that I teach, mainly cybersecurity, as I mentioned before. One IT automation class that I did way back when I started in 2012, and I still kind of do it to today. Everything's online for me, it's just more convenient. Yeah, it's a little bit of background of me. As far as what we'll cover today, why cybersecurity now? Why is this a good or the best time to get into cybersecurity? Where's the industry headed? Where do you see cybersecurity in 5, 10, 20 years from now, or even sooner, in 1 year from now? What Springboard as a company is doing, and what courses they provide to students and people looking into, that type of thing. And also what skills to learn when it comes to cybersecurity. So definitely cover a few of those things today, and hope you get a lot out of this too, because there's a lot of questions and people trying to get into the industry. Should they get in right now? Should they wait a little bit? What certifications should they get? So is now the best time? So in my opinion, as a practitioner and as in academia, I believe it is a pretty good time to get into it, because the industry is very hot right now, meaning there's a lot of security events going on in the news and in the industry about places getting breached and things like that. So there's also the threat landscape, as they call it, meaning the different types of threats that are coming in and affecting and attacking different companies and businesses is changing. So they're going to need cybersecurity professionals to help protect and prevent those types of attacks. So it's like an ongoing cycle of needing more people to do certain things and to kind of be an expert in the field. Now, actually, cybersecurity is a pretty new field, to be pretty honest with you. It's not as old as other industries and stuff like that in IT. So there's still a lot to learn, and even the people that are using it in malicious ways are attacking, and maybe not even attacking purposely. They may be just playing around with the penetration testing application, like Kali Linux is a distribution of Linux that you can use to do penetration testing. Sometimes people stumble across those and type in the wrong IP, and next thing you know, they've affected a business across the world. So that's just an example too, but there's definitely a high demand of cybersecurity roles, and it's very important right now to understand, what kind of roles those are, what type of role you want to go into, and things like that. So, businesses I think are having a difficult time filling these roles is because, like I said, things are changing so quickly, and there's improvement in technology almost every day. There's new features, there's new technologies coming out, and it's really hard for people to keep up with that. So I think in cybersecurity, as well as like virtualization, and those types of fields are very popular, and cloud are very popular right now because they're new, they're hot. A lot of businesses are moving toward that technology, like cloud, for example. But the security aspect's always there. You can't really get rid of it. And with any system, with any organization, you're never 100% done with security. You're never 100% secure because there's always that human factor to it, right? There's always that human error that could happen. Maybe a configuration error, maybe allowing someone in a door, like posing as a UPS guy or girl, whatever it is. The social engineering aspect. So with cybersecurity specifically, there are many aspects to why now is the best way to get in, or the best time to get in. And I definitely think that's true, just seeing where things are going, to be honest with you. So just a quick little fact here: by 2021, it's predicted that will be 3.5 million job openings. As you can see, this is continuing to grow. And if you want to get into cybersecurity, and this is something you really want to do, maybe after listening to this webinar, doing some more research and so on, I really think you should sit down and think about, is this something I'm passionate about too? Because you kind of don't want to get into something if it's just something that people say is a good thing to do, right? You want to have an interest in it, because that'll help you become a better professional. That'll help you with your drive and the grit that may need to come along with one of the roles here as being a cybersecurity professional, is wanting to do better and more and learn, because it's all about learning too. As a practitioner, I learn every day about new things. I've been in the field for 18 plus years in IT, and I'm still learning. Things changed, as I mentioned before. The threat landscape changes. So the basics are pretty much the basics. Access control, stuff like that. But other things are starting to come in now, like artificial intelligence, behavioral analytics, cloud, Internet of Things. Those are all newer technologies and things that could potentially affect a business. So we definitely want to look out for that and learn. Keep your eyes and ears open, continue to learn, continue to get involved in things. So yeah. So Springboard themselves, has several courses on like data science and cybersecurity and so on and so forth, to help students and help learners kind of build their knowledge and experience to get a better idea of what's going on with that specific topic. So taking cybersecurity, for example, they want to obviously bridge the gap between what's going on in the world and maybe the skills and things that need to be required to get into the career. So Springboard has a great course, which I'll get into it soon, but I'll mention it now, is Intro to Cybersecurity. So if you're on this call or on this webinar and you have no experience in cybersecurity and or no certifications in cybersecurity and you're looking to get into cybersecurity, my advice is to go through the Intro to Cybersecurity course first before anything else, because that's going to give you more of a basic foundation of the actual industry, right? And all the terms, and that's important because you don't want to skip around and maybe do a more advanced class and miss out on the basic stuff, even though the advanced class may kind of mention a few things here and there about the basics and some of the core elements of cybersecurity, but you're really missing out on the bigger picture. And in order to be successful and fully effective, you definitely want to do that, is learn from the basics and not skip around. So I'll get to that in a little bit. What Springboard has done is they work with cybersecurity professionals and subject matter experts like myself and others to build this curriculum, this coursework. And I've looked at it, I've vetted it myself. It really hones in on what's needed to have a pretty good idea of what cybersecurity is all about and the basics. Again, it doesn't teach you everything. You're not going to come out of there being an expert in anything. It's just more of introducing you to the concepts and making you feel more comfortable and more confident getting into the field. Because that's another thing too, is you could take a certification course or a boot camp somewhere else, and maybe it's a 5-day rushed boot camp where you're there, doing what you're doing for 5 days. But a lot of people can't take all of that at one time. It is a lot of information at once. But the great thing about these courses is they're stretched over a few months, and they're organized, and they're designed specifically for people trying to get into the field that have the time to look into this. Another thing too is cost. The cost for some of those boot camps is a couple $1,000s, which this is not. So there's a lot of pluses to this too. So here's the course description about the Intro to Cybersecurity course. So it prepares you for the Security Plus exam, which is a very popular exam. It's recognized by the Department of Defense and a few other places. It's the entry-level security certification in the industry right now. If you go to Indeed.com or any job board out there and you just search for Security Plus, don't even search for location, just search for Security Plus, see how many results come back. And that basically means that in the job description, they mention Security Plus as maybe a preferred or required piece of the job applicant. So having that certification is great. There are other certifications in security like the CISSP that are even more popular and even more in demand. But that cert's more for people with more experience, maybe 5+ years of experience. So if you're new, which I believe most of you usually are on this webinar, to cybersecurity, you don't want to get too ahead of yourself. You want to stick, my opinion, my advice is to stick with the basics. Get through that first, really truly understand that, and then move on to maybe something else. But the great thing about the Intro to Cybersecurity is it focuses on the basics. It's a very general, wide view of cybersecurity. It doesn't really specialize in penetration testing or networking or something like that. It's a little bit of everything. So it's a great way to expose as much as you can to get exposed to the industry and the coursework for the exam too. You build a deep understanding of incident response, risk management, and other things too that are very important in the industry. There are labs, hands-on labs, that you kind of build your experience as well, which are great. And the one thing that's really popular and a lot of people like, a lot of the mentees that I work with, is the one-on-one mentorship. So what that basically means is every week for 30 minutes via a Skype call, video call, or phone if I can't get to a video call, I speak to my mentor, my mentee, and they speak to me about what issues they're having, any of the coursework that they're doing they may have a problem with, any suggestions on certifications down the road, pretty much anything related to the course, how I got started. So we form this great relationship in the first few calls, and then it kind of starts to get kind of heads down into the coursework. And there may be calls that are really intense where they have tons of questions. There may be calls where, nope, I understand everything and everything's good, and we move on to the next week. So either way, it's a great a way to build a relationship, get that specific one-on-one interaction, which a lot of courses don't have. You could sign up for a course that does similar stuff as this, but you don't have that one-on-one. And not to mention is this person that the mentees are talking to, the mentors, they are subject matter experts. So basically you're talking to me, who's been in the field for many years, that can give you advice and guidance and stuff like that. So this is a huge plus with this course. But again, with this course too, is a lot of people that, you know, are new to cybersecurity that aren't sure what specialization to go in, because if someone asks you, hey, I'm in cybersecurity, all right, you know, what do you focus on? What's your specialization? There are a number of places you can go from there. It just kind of branches out from there. Like I mentioned, you can do penetration testing, you can do, you know, compliance management, risk and stuff like that. You can do more infrastructure and stuff like that. So where are you going to land? What path are you going to choose? And that really depends on what you want to do, right? In which way the industry takes you. You know, I've changed many times. I started off as more infrastructure, and I still kind of am, but I've kind of moved toward the governance, risk, and compliance side of things, which is more policies and procedures and the basics of cybersecurity, because I believe the basics are extremely important. That's why I keep kind of pushing to mentors and students that don't skip around, don't look for the easy way out. Learn the basics, get an understanding, because it's actually going to be better in many levels. One is if you take the time to learn the basics and you don't like the field, you'll know right away without maybe spending too much money on a more advanced course or spending too much time doing something else that's skipping around. You know, you want to make sure you understand the basics and you like it. And if you do like it, that's fantastic. And another benefit too is don't worry if you don't know what specialization you're going into right now, because I find that as a plus, as a positive, because as you get exposed to all these different topics within this course, within that certification exam prep work, you're going to be exposed to many different things, many different areas in cybersecurity, and you kind of have a choice. You can pick and choose which ones you want to go in. You know, there's no, oh, you have to do this one kind of thing. So that's another huge plus, is you have, you know, the windows open to do whatever you would like based on your passions and stuff like that. So yeah, so these are the kind of the main topics with this course, and I did want to spend a little more time on this slide, explain a little more about it. And you know, if you have any questions, I'm looking at the chat right now. Feel free if you have any questions for me. You know, if I can answer them quickly, I will. Otherwise, we'll wait until towards the end when I have more of a Q&A session. But we have Julia in the chat as well, who can answer any specific questions, maybe about the coursework or specific to Springboard as a company as a whole. And I can help out with more of the technical, maybe advice type questions and stuff and answers and stuff like that. So feel free to ask any questions you have. And usually the questions I get are, you know, hey, I'm in this role now. I want to get into cybersecurity. What's the best certification, or what's the best course, or what's the best path? The straight answer I can give that kind of covers all of those is, you know, how much experience do you have right now? Do you have any experience? Do you have certifications in IT or cybersecurity? If the answer is no, then I would highly recommend this course. There are other courses that are probably a little step back from this that are not really security related, but more hardware, software, networking related. For example, there's A+, like the letter A and the plus sign. That's more hardware, software. And there's Network Plus, which is the word network and the plus symbol at the end of it. And that's more networking. Those two certs combined will give you a great foundation of hardware, software, networking. And then you would then kind of jump into Security Plus. So all the things you learn in those two other certifications will kind of build up on into the Security Plus exam. Now, right now, Springboard doesn't offer A+, Network Plus type of courses, but you know, maybe in the future. But right now, Security Plus is the one they do provide. And they do provide within the course some general kind of information about the hardware, software, networking point of it, and that may be enough for most of you, but maybe it isn't. So what I usually recommend students to do before kind of jumping into anything is go to a local bookstore like Barnes & Noble, and I can guarantee they'll have an A+ book and a Net Plus book and a Security Plus book. Take a half an hour, stop by the cafe, grab a cup of coffee and a pastry, and just sit there and look at some of the topics within the books. See if anything rings a bell, if it's familiar to you or not. If things really aren't starting to look familiar to you, then you may want to consider looking into that certification. For example, let's say you want to get into security, which is great. And you have some experience in IT, general IT, maybe a help desk or something like that. So you go to Barnes & Nobles, you look at the A+ book, you look at the Net Plus book, and you're seeing a lot of those topics and things in those books that are very familiar to you, which is great. So then if that is the case, then you can just focus on the Security Plus, sign up with Springboard and have at it. But maybe if you look at those in A+ and the Network Plus book, there's terms in there that you aren't really sure of. You may want to consider looking into those certifications eventually, because that'll give you a better foundation. You probably can get away with the Security Plus without those, but it really depends on how much experience you have. If you have little, like zero experience, and like some of the things I ask people, like, are you familiar with an IP addresses? Are you familiar with DNSs? Do you know what port NTP is? Those are questions that you will probably need to know for the Security Plus. If you don't know those, you may learn them in the Security Plus course, but you don't want to limit yourself, right? Again, it's all about getting that full underlining knowledge and stuff and exposure to the industry. So, this webinar is more about, now's the time to get in cybersecurity, and it definitely is. And this is just one of the courses that can help you get there. And I do want to mention another course, more especially for this course too, is, if you want to get a general understanding of cybersecurity, some of the stuff I mentioned before, you want to get a career in networking and technology. You have a technical background, but not so much a cybersecurity background. So if you have no technical background and no cybersecurity background, then the A+, Net Plus certs are probably your best bet for now, and then reconsider Security Plus, definitely. But I just want to get through some other information on these slides. So here's a little bit more about the Intro to Cybersecurity course that I want to mention too. I mentioned you'll get an overall understanding of cybersecurity, the roles and careers within cybersecurity, because that'll help you choose which path to go on. So again, it's exposing you to many different things. You understand, software and different architecture, different risk management and incident response procedures, identity and access control concepts, stuff like that. And one huge benefit to the course is it helps you prepare for the Security Plus exam, which is the exam you would take once you're done and you're comfortable with, the material. So that's a huge plus with this course too, is a lot of these courses really they may be cybersecurity courses, but they're not prep courses or designed for Security Plus. But this course is more than that, because you have a mentor, you have labs, you have all these other great things that can help you really understand the concepts. And that's a huge plus when it comes to this specific course that Springboard has to offer. So those are some of the outcomes that you'll get from the intro course. As far as a mentor, here's some great benefits. As I mentioned a couple of these already, we'll provide you with technical guidance. We'll help you with the coursework in a way. We'll challenge you. We'll kind of pull out your critical thinking mindset there with a couple of things. We'll also be able to give you some tips and tricks about how to get into the career, how to get into the industry, stuff like that. We also track your progress every week. So it's not like you're sitting there and you're stuck and you don't know what to do. There's someone here that's actively knocking on your door. Hey, are you okay? What's going on this week? Let me know how you're doing, because I want to help out. Because you want to keep that momentum going with the course. You don't want to stall. And yes, things happen, issues happen with family, job, stuff like that. But we're there to help, and we're obviously very considerate and flexible with things too. But again, we're here to make sure that you're good when it comes to the coursework and you have a clear kind of vision, because you also want to make sure you plan ahead. You want to make sure that you have a vision of where you're going to go. So for example, let's say you take the Security Plus course. What's next? Well, it really depends on your take of the course and the content and the material once you're done, because right now you may not know where you want to go. But once say you're done with Security Plus, you have a pretty big interest in architecture or compliance or cryptography or whatever other topic you're learning in Security Plus. Then you can kind of pivot that direction, right? You have the knowledge, you have the basic knowledge, understanding of what's involved in the career, in the industry, and you focus on that. So that's a great thing to do. So so a few little mentor type of highlights there. So about 40 hours of project focused work total. is within the course. You have labs, like I mentioned before, and you'll be able to kind of use some of the tools that are used in the industry within the course, which is great. So it's not like you're just reading a book and slides and you're bubbling in the letters for a test and you're done and you're passed and you get a certificate. No, you're actually actively, learning and doing something. And at the end of it, you're able to kind of show and prove that you did this type of report or this type of lab to maybe a job offering that you're trying to get to, or job position you're trying to get to. So it's very good stuff. And it's kind of like a holistic approach to those that want to get into security. This is a great kind of package for you. So yeah. So a couple awesome bits of news about this course is Springboard is offering a free trial for you guys to test it out. And if you also enroll before the 29th of October, you get $100 off using that code right there. So this is great. This is new. They haven't done this before. Who knows how long it'll be on for the free trial, that is. So those of you thinking about getting into industry and have the time to take on a course like this, which again is stretched out for a pretty good amount of time, even though it's 40 hours, it's stretched out for a few months, so you have time to do it with your professional and personal lives. And just wanted to make again a point that, you want to start with the basics. You don't want to jump around to other courses that kind of teach you a little more advanced in cybersecurity, because you're missing out on the fundamentals. So this is a great course that helps kind of pull all the core elements in for cybersecurity and give you more of an idea of what's going on from the basics basic point of view. So yeah, so again, any questions about the course, the free trial, anything I said so far, definitely mention it in chat. I have a chat. I think I have a chat open. Yeah, I have the chat open here. We will have time for Q&A because I see a couple of people mention, I think, something in Q&A. So for as far as chat goes, Julia just put a link to the Intro to Cybersecurity course so you guys get a little more information about it to help you out with that. Definitely browse around, see how you like it. There's a little more information than on my slide here, or slides here, but it kind of gives you an overview of what the course is about. It's pretty much going to mention most of the stuff that I said already, but maybe a little more detail about the course itself. So that's that course. There is another course that Springboard offers. It's a cybersecurity career track course, and this is another great course. It's what I consider a little more advanced than the intro course, meaning this course does touch on some of the basics of cybersecurity, but what it also touches on and focuses on is a specialization in software application security. So if you're someone on this webinar right now that has experience, maybe 1 to 3 years in cybersecurity or maybe application development, and with your bachelor's too, because that would definitely be a plus, or at least a bachelor's degree, which that would be a plus. This course may be something you're interested in if you're interested in going the software application security route. Now, if you don't want to deal with Python and coding and that type of thing, you may want to look more at the intro course, at least to start. But again, this is more of a advanced course, and there are some extra bells and whistles you get with this being a more advanced course. For example, there are advisors to help you out with your LinkedIn profile, your interview skills, your resume. So as it points out, it's a little more career-oriented, career track-oriented, which would be great for a bunch of people. But again, I really wouldn't stick someone in this course that's very new to cybersecurity, because it'll take them longer to learn. It may be a little more difficult for some, and they might just wind up going back to the intro course anyway. So again, another great course there. I think Monica had a question. Do you recommend boot camps? Yeah, boot camps are great. There's just a few kind of caveats to that, is the location, the cost, and the time, right? So location may not always be online or on demand. It may have to physically go somewhere for 5 days or so. The cost, depending on where it is, it could be a couple $100, a couple $1,000. And the timing of it, like I said, it's 5 days back to back usually, most of them are. But boot camps are definitely something other people choose, and I have no issue with boot camps myself. The courses that Springboard offers are I guess for people looking for another alternative to boot camps, where it's, you have a more stretched out coursework, you have a prep course to help you with Security Plus, you have a mentor that's actively making sure that they get a hold of you every week to talk to you about the coursework and stuff like that. So, there's some pros and cons to both, but it really depends on the research you want to do and where you're going at with it and your time and your budget and stuff like that. So, yeah, like, there's boot camps from, if you ever heard of SANS courses, they're huge, very popular in the industry right now in IT. I've taken a couple of them. I had my company pay for them because they're about $5,000 each just for the course. That doesn't include the tests. So great course, great quality, but very expensive. But it's for a reason. So some of you may not have the budget for that, and that's why this alternative here is good. And you get, like I said, a mentor and more lab work and stuff like that. So get a little more to it as well. So Trishant said, should one shift to operating system like Kali Linux to get a deeper understanding? Depends. If you want to get into penetration testing, definitely. If penetration testing in the cybersecurity kind of umbrella is something you want to get into, Kali Linux is all about that. That's the distro that you would use to perform pen tests on companies for good reason, not maliciously. Learning the operating system, you'll learn about Linux, you'll learn about the penetration testing tools, you'll learn about maybe some coding as well. So if you're going to go pen testing and you like that type of route, that's a great place to focus on. But if you have no cybersecurity experience, I would start off with Security Plus, the intro course, and then work your way up. Because from there, you can go to, so you do Security Plus, and from there you can go to the CEH, the Certified Ethical Hacker, which is another great penetration testing type of cert specifically for that. You can definitely do the advanced course by that point once you get past the intro course, because it does focus on application security, which will benefit people that are trying to get into pen testing. What about the job market? Can you get a job after the 6-month program? What is the hiring market like across the US? I would say it's very strong right now. Again, if you want, go to Indeed.com, type in Security Plus, all one word, and for location, put your location, your city or whatever, and look at the results. And you'll see different positions. You may see security analyst, security engineer, security administrator, firewall engineer. You'll see security type jobs and roles being put out there. I think the job market is pretty hot right now. I don't think there's an issue of, there's no lack or issue of jobs right now. It's just a matter of making sure you fulfill their requirements or preferred requirements or preferred details when it comes to the role, like maybe having a bachelor's degree, maybe having a certification in cybersecurity, which will help. So the bigger certifications that are out there right now, you'll see is Security Plus, Certified Ethical Hacker, CISSP. Now, each of those are different. They're all related to cybersecurity or security. And some people will go ahead and say that the cybersecurity, they all kind of bleed together in a sense, but they're all actually focused, one's on penetration testing, one's on something else. So they all kind of work together, but they don't. So, a CISSP is more for someone that's trying to maybe be more a management role in cybersecurity, where CEH is more pen testing. So you definitely want to consider that. After the boot camp, are you ready to take the job or get a job? It really depends. It depends on your experience and how much you get from the boot camp, and if you get a certification out of it too. So it's a good question. So yeah, I think that's all the questions we had there. Let me look into Q&A. Let me see. I understand that this is a new program. What is the student success rate on passing either the Security Plus or the CISSP? So Security Plus and CISSP are two completely different certifications. One, the CISSP requires a little more experience, like 5 years or so. And the Security Plus doesn't require any really experience, just more about making sure you understand theory. And CISSP, again, is more for management type of roles or people that want to get into more management. Now, you can look at it any way you want. Like you can get a CISSP if you want to be an engineer. That's kind of what I did. Is I got the CISSP and I'm an engineer and I enjoyed it, but it doesn't mean I want to be in management, right? I had enough experience to be eligible to take the cert, just to have it, because I know a little bit about it and it's good to have for future. I got the CEH because it's just a great concept and understanding, and I enjoyed that type of material too. It doesn't mean I want to be a pen tester, right? So it's a certain point in your career when you, in cybersecurity at least, that you may get certifications that don't directly apply to what you're doing, but you may want to get them because either you have the time or the money to learn about those new technologies, concepts, theory to make you a better professional, right? But then again, I always mention to students is whenever you take a certification, make sure that you take them where they provide value to either you or your customer. Let me see. Yeah, you want to make sure you provide value to them, obviously. You don't want to take a certification that's completely off the wall. That has nothing to do with what you're doing at your job or that you want to do down the road. You want to make sure that it provides value. So that is a great question. The student success rate when it comes to those, it really depends on the student, where they're studying, how they're studying, and I have a whole kind of methodology in how I study, and I pass those and others. So there's a lot more factors involved with that, but they are passable. It just depends on how much drive the student has and what material they're using and how much they study, and are they giving themselves enough time to study. So yeah, that's a great question. So, and Monica, I see your other question about, do you recommend boot camps? I think I answered that before. So, but Fred, that's a good question. So, I think we're at Q&A time. So, does anyone else have any other questions? Either put it in chat or the Q&A area. I'll be more happy to help answer them for you. I know that you may have some questions. I don't know if Julia, do you have anything to add, either through voice or through chat at this point?
I'm all good on my end. I just wanted to thank everyone for taking time out of their day to join us, and to Lenny for hosting this and taking time out of his day to share greater insights around the cybersecurity job market and some of our courses that we have here at Springboard to help fill the skills gap within cybersecurity.
Great. I'll give maybe another 10 seconds or so, 15 seconds. If anyone has any other questions, I'll be able to see it really quick. Yeah, I always like to do the webinars for people, especially, with cybersecurity being so hot right now, and do I jump into the role? What do I do? How do I do it? I know this course is more about, a little more about what Springboard has to offer as far as courses for that specific industry, and and which one do you choose, because there's 2 of them for cybersecurity, and also why now is a good time to get in, and I think it is. I mean, I have colleagues, I have friends that are able to get into it fairly quickly, just as long as they learn some of the basics, because you don't want to intimidate yourself too much. Maybe you start off with a help desk position. Maybe you start off doing that type of role to get the IT experience, and then maybe it kind of moves into more cybersecurity. There's nothing wrong with that. It's like Jean said, how do we get access to your other webinars like certification, one you mentioned? Good question. Julia, I don't know if you'd be able to answer that too for Jean.
Yeah, of course. Jean, I can send you the link to the replay for the certification webinar, so you don't have to worry about that.
Okay. Let's see. What else is there? Can you suggest any additional sources to prepare for the CH and the Security Plus exams? Outside of maybe Springboard and a few other books, Amazon is a great place to get books if you need books. I just look at the ratings on them. That's kind of my approach. Look at the ratings to see which ones are better, because sometimes you need that book. Sometimes you need that physical book to highlight, to study from. So there's a good Security Plus book by Daryl Givens, I believe. If you look at it, he has very high ratings. I've used his books on Security Plus when I took it, and it was awesome. As far as CEH, I think I used the all-in-one type of one that they publish, the gold reddish one. It was usually pretty good. But also a lot of this came with experience for me. I had a lot of experience with pen testing and stuff, so I didn't maybe need to dive into it too deeply as far as research and homework and work like that, but I did have to study. I did have to take practice exams. I did have to read the books just to make sure I understand it. And like I said, there's a whole methodology behind it that I use when it comes to that. So I don't just read the book and pray that I pass the test. I take practice questions and test myself. Let's see. Would you also provide help with job opportunities and interviews? In the intro course, I don't believe that is a feature or a bell and whistle. I can provide feedback as a mentor just from my experience. The career track does have more along the lines of help with those two things. But again, the career track is more for software application security specialization. Yeah.
I can jump into and add a little extra color. So as Lenny just shared, the intro course that we have does not come with career support, but you can definitely utilize your mentor as a resource because they are an expert in the field. But for the career track itself, if that is a course that you are ready to take and get accepted into it, there is career support that's built into the curriculum, along with you have unlimited calls with our career coaches, and they'll help you with your job search strategy throughout the course and for to 6 months afterwards. So you'll be supported in that front there.
If we complete the class, we'll be certified in cybersecurity. Is there a certificate of completion, Julia? I'm not sure. For like complete class.
You do receive a Springboard certificate upon completing any of our courses. And so that is something that you can share and include on your resume. If you're talking about being certified specifically for one of the certifications that Lenny had mentioned earlier in the webinar, that is something that you'd have to take separate outside of this in order to receive official certifications.
Let me see, Brian, good info. I started in the October cohort. I'm in the intro course, which is the perfect starting place for anyone interested in here. That's great, Brian. Great to have that feedback from a student right now. And I agree with you. I mean, I think as a subject matter expert for Springboard, I think Springboard did a great job with that course and the other course, but they specifically this course, because it's that general I want to get into cybersecurity course that a lot of people can jump into, rather than having one or two specialized courses, or maybe not as many people would maybe want to go into there yet, because they need that intro, they need that basic core information and knowledge. So, Stan, let me see. Where was your question? I don't think I saw it. Oh, okay. What course would you recommend to take after the intro? Cybersecurity. That's a great question. My response to that would be, it would kind of be more of reevaluating yourself after the course, meaning, do you feel confident in what you learned? Do you feel confident for the test, for the Security Plus exam? Because when you're done with the intro course, you're basically prepped for the Security Plus exam. So are you ready to take the exam at the end of the course? Yes or no? If you are, great, take it, pass it, and then reevaluate yourself to see, you may want to kind of figure out what specialization you want to go in at that point. And maybe you like infrastructure or application security or whatever else, and that you can focus on, or pen testing. So if the answer to that was pen testing, then you will go CEH, or maybe the cybersecurity career track as well, or something more, application related. If it's more, compliance or infrastructure, there are other certifications, but I also would check out, as far as certifications go, I would check out that certification webinar I did, because that'll give you a lot more information as far as what paths to go. But a quick little kind of tip is, if you Google CompTIA, CompTIA, certification roadmap, it's one of the first results that come up. It gives you kind of a roadmap of all the different specializations and all the certifications and all the difficulty levels of all the certifications that are out there. So it kind of gives you a good high-level overview of, if you're a beginner, what certifications are on what levels. Like more advanced, there is maybe CISSP, Security Plus is more intermediate, so on and so forth. So as far as a course goes, specifically with Springboard, again, if you want to go the penetration testing application security track or route after the intro course, then the cybersecurity career track would be a great choice. So yeah. Hopefully that helps answer that. Any other questions before we end the meeting? All right. Julia, do you have anything else for us today?
Nope, I am all good on my end.
All right. Well, I really appreciate everyone for joining, and hope you guys have a great day. Thanks again.